Ajde. Najvela bi da sam na svom ognjištu, eto, to. I da vidim svakog svoga. Ja nisam mogla da veram, ali sad da veram.
Što ste ovdje?
Pa izbjeglište.
Oda?
Od Rogace, ali ste čuo za Rogac, ne znam gdje su. Nema, tamo je samo...
Kraj tanana šadravana, gdje žubori voda živa, šeta se svakog dana. Čerka mila, svakog dana jedno momče.
Bosnia, a country of rich ethnic heritage, ruled over time by the Roman Empire, the Ottomans, and the Austro-Hungarians. The area was originally settled by the Illyrians and later the Slavs. Throughout the Middle Ages, they were to adopt different religions and political allegiances. From the patchwork of different tribes that migrated into and influenced the region, three had by modern times attained the greatest influence: the Orthodox Serbian peoples, the Catholic Croatians, and Bosnian Muslims. None of these groups claim a clear majority in modern Bosnia. After the collapse of communism, nationalist politics unleashed the darkest terror to engulf a European country since World War II. The modern Yugoslavian traditions of tolerance and mixed marriage gave way to greed for power and war crimes of the worst sort. The 1992 descent of nationalistic war resulted in expulsions, concentration camp detentions, and the destruction of religious and cultural heritage. Policies, commonly known as ethnic cleansing, left over 250,000 people dead.
It's fairly clear, I think, that this conflict was brought about by politicians who used nationalism to generate a frenzy and in trying to create these ethnically pure states.
Before the Bosnian War, modern Yugoslavia seemed relatively peaceful. In 1992, after Croatia declared independence from Yugoslavia, the Yugoslav army, which had been largely controlled by Serbs, levied attacks against those seeking independence. The newly proclaimed Republic of the Serbian Peoples of Bosnia used the heavy weaponry of the Yugoslav army to establish dominance. The struggle for power led to reliance on paramilitary gangs, foreign mercenaries, and convicted criminals. The most extreme elements of society took control, and terror became the order of the day. The Serb-led SDS forces and VJ army of the new Rump Yugoslavia mobilized offenses on Sarajevo, Mostar, and the corridor stretching from Zagreb to Belgrade.
Tokom 1992. godine, kada se Bosna i Hercegovina još nije dovoljno vojno organizirala da se brani, Jugoslovenska armija i srpske snage su sistematski i po unaprijed utvrđenom planu preduzimale niz mjera progona nesrpskog stanovništva sa te teritorije. Došlo je do takozvanog etničkog čišćenja, koje je po svim svojim obilježjima ispunjavalo elemente genocida kako je predviđen u Konvenciji o sprječavanju i kažnjavanju genocida iz 1992. godine.
The media was used tactically as a means to provoke conflict, turning the dividing lines of politics into battle lines that forced people to choose sides.
The media just reported over and over this virulent propaganda, and when you put that together, that is, the political power, desire for power, and territorial gain, couple that with a media that preaches virulent propaganda that if you don't do something soon, they will get you, then you've got a very difficult situation.
In urban areas, many could not fathom that war could break out.
Jasno je bilo da će rat početi još od govora Slobodana Miloševića na Gazimestanu, na Kosovu povodom 500 godina Kosovske bitke 1989. godine. Međutim, svo vrijeme mi smo mislili možda će biti nekog rata, ali ne u Sarajevu, jer ovdje je takav duh naroda da se to jednostavno ne može dopustiti. Međutim, pred samim početak rata bilo je jasno da postoje dva puta. Ili će se Bosna podijeliti mirnim putem, ili će oni koji istrajavaju na borbi za jedinstvenu Bosnu, da će se morati ovako ili onako konfrontirati protiv ovih drugih snaga. Međutim, svo vrijeme se računalo na pomoć Zapada, na pomoć Amerike, NATO saveza. Ta pomoć je izostala i niko od nas pred sami rat nije mogao ni sanjati da će ovaj rat biti tako krvav, sa tako ogromnim žrtvama, sa tako ogromnom količinom patnje koja se desila svima nama i sa neviđenim zločinima koji su počinjeni.
Despite a referendum in which a clear majority voted for a united Bosnia, the party of Radovan Karadzic, the SDS, began its sabotage. Under indicted war criminal General Ratko Mladic, it is estimated that 1/3 of Serbs in Sarajevo joined the SDS forces. 1/3 fled the city. Another 1/3 stayed to fight with Muslims and Croats for a unified Bosnia. Sarajevo, once a symbol of tolerance and multi-ethnicity, became the playground of saboteurs.
Ja mislim 2 mjeseca prije početka rata, dakle 5. marta 1992. Ovdje su organizovane barikade koje su nakon ovog referenduma o kojem smo govorili, nakon što su objavljeni rezultati tog referenduma, dakle teroristi Srpske demokratske stranke su napravili barikade i presekli su čitav grad. Tek tada je svima bilo jasno šta se zapravo sprema. I tada su oni naravno izgledali tako kako ih je on opisao, zastrašujuće, sa maskama, sa čarapama na glavi. I s obzirom da tada apsolutno bosanski narod nije bio spreman na rat, svima je tada bilo jasno šta se sprema. Tad je narod izašao na ulice i tada su krenule masovne demonstracije kroz čitav grad, gdje je narod sam svojim tijelima probio sve te barikade i one su uklonjene nakon 2 dana, ali je tada već nakon, odmah sutradan, ali je tada već bilo jasno šta se sprema.
The protesters were eventually gunned down. Under siege for 4 years, the multi-ethnic population of Sarajevo was forced to bury victims of sniper fire and shelling in parks within the city. Casualties in Sarajevo reached more than 10,000. After 2 years of war, the terrors in Bosnia provoked a public outcry and international reaction. The United Nations and NATO made plans for intervention. The United Nations Security Council created the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, commonly known in Bosnia as the Hague Tribunal. The Hague Tribunal is prosecuting suspected war criminals for genocide, crimes against humanity, and violations of the laws of war. The War Crimes Tribunal was created in a vacuum, with only the Nuremberg and Tokyo trials as historical precedents.
When we first started the investigations in June 1994, we had very few investigators, and we were coming from a position where the crimes had been committed throughout Bosnia for the previous 2.5 years. So we had a lot of catching up to do.
There was very little precedent that we could borrow from Nuremberg in terms of the procedure and the evidence and the way the trials are conducted, because Nuremberg had very few rules of procedure.
International judges and prosecutors at the War Crimes Tribunal are forced to confront deeply rooted causes of the war.
I think it's fairly clear, at least in my own view, that the tribunal is playing an important part in ending the cycles of violence. And that's the key to what's been happening in the Balkans. Prior to starting work at this tribunal, I was involved in the Nazi war crimes investigations in Australia. And investigating those cases led us to the former Yugoslavia. And we were interviewing Croatian and Serbian citizens in Australia in respect of crimes committed in World War II in Yugoslavia. And time after time we saw that there was a need for these people to avenge the crimes that had been committed against their relatives during the Second World War, because no one had been brought to justice, nobody was held accountable. So therefore this new generation felt almost an obligation to avenge the crimes that had been committed in the past.
The absence of justice for the commission of war crimes leads to cynicism as to whether the Hague trials will have any effect on the current situation in Bosnia.
You think they should go after the war criminals?
Yes, of course. That's inevitable. But the success of the trial isn't, I don't think it's certain, because there are still war criminals from the Second World War. They haven't been caught yet.
It may appear to some Bosnians that the international community wants a quick fix for the Bosnian problems.
Well, right now, for some reason, it seems like everybody, including the international community, is anxious to help people here forget that anything bad happened to them. It's like, you know, you have been through 4 years of a nightmare, but now it's Dayton, it's time to wake up. You know, I mean, it's not that simple, you know. You can't really forgive by forgetting. And you don't even have to forgive. You just have to know the truth. Personally, I think, like, we should not forget anything. And we should forgive each our own. You know, you cannot forgive into the name of somebody else. I mean, forgiveness is just about as individual as guilt.
The Hague Tribunal charges individuals for war crimes as opposed to collectivities.
It was all based on the premise that personal responsibility would serve to dispel the kind of national or global guilt that these ethnic groups or societies otherwise carry collectively. So it would serve to dispel the idea that all Serbs ought to be held responsible for what some Serbs have done, or that all Croats should carry the stigma collectively of anything that a particular Bosnian Croat or Croatian person, or more so leader, may be personally responsible for.
Bosnia is now divided between the fractious Muslim Croat Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Serbian Republika Srpska. Views on war crimes may differ depending on location.
Teški tribunal, to je Srb međunarodni tako. Pa mislim da ima malo pravde tu. U odnosu koliko je to precizno, ja mislim da je malo. Više oni gledaju, kako da kažem, Srbe više krive, a ovi ostali ne krive.
While hair-splitting about the differing opinions complicates the process, the struggle to maintain a bottom line remains.
While ever there are victims alive who know that over there's a perpetrator who committed a crime who hasn't been brought to justice, then you have a seed for these cycles of violence. So something has to happen to extinguish that. There either has to be some form of reconciliation where it's no longer a problem, and maybe a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the future would enable such reconciliation. But if things are left to themselves without people being brought to justice, then I'm afraid there will be no end to these cycles of violence.
One thing is clear, leaving the war behind is no easy task.
I survived so many ugly things. I saw so many things that horrified me tremendously. I've seen people dying in front of my eyes. I saw them bleeding to death. You know, it was really horrible. It's hard to talk about it. It must never be forgotten.
Gdje ste bili prije, eto, da ste bili, vi ste muslimani, ovo je njihovo bilo, 400 godina. I opet to htjeli sada zauzeti. A mi nismo dali da tu dođu, jeli?
"60 miles south of Sarajevo, in the historic town of Mostar, the war was heated and intense. Initially, the Serb-led VJ forces surrounded the city from all sides, forcing the largely Muslim and Croat population to form a common defense. Alleged sinister backroom negotiations between Serb President Slobodan Milosevic and Croatian President Franjo Tudjman to partition Bosnia left Bosnian Muslims surrounded on all sides by expansionist nationalist regimes. Ethnic cleansing was conducted to destroy the idea of a multi-ethnic Bosnia.
Nažalost, na sigurnost naroda Bosne i Hercegovine je najviše uticao dogovor Miloševića i Tudjmana iz 1991. godine iz ovoga lovišta u Karađorđevu. Iako ni jedan ni drugi nisu nikad potvrdili taj sastanak, ali je očigledno da su bili vrlo konsekventni u realizaciji tada dogovorene podjele Bosne i Hercegovine.
The Serb forces agreed to withdraw from Mostar, leaving behind them brutal infighting between Croats and Muslims. Croatian forces levied assaults on Mostar's Muslim population in an effort to create an ethnically pure Croatian mini-state. The front line carved a divide through the heart of the city, a divide that remains in place today.
Etničko čišćenje je ono otprilike što se desilo ovdje u Mostaru. 36. ja sam odveden u 36. 93. godine ja sam odveden u koncentracijski logor i tad nas je odvedeno na 1000. I bilo je dovoljno samo da je moje ime bošnjačko da bi me odveli u logor. Oni su išli od stana do stana, provjeravali lična dokumenta i koje god imao bošnjačko ime odvođeni. U logoru u kojem sam ja bio, bilo je i djeca 13-14 godina.
Many tried to protect their friends by fabricating papers to indicate they were non-Muslim or non-Serb peoples.
U momentu kad je počeo napad HVO-a, u tom momentu sa mnom su bili moja žena i mlađe dijete. I upravo Hrvati u mojoj zgradi gdje sam živio su sakrili i moju ženu i moje dijete. Mene nisu mogli. Čak je moja žena dobila krštenicu nevjeste jedne Hrvatice, da može reći da je ona Hrvatica, da je niko ne dira. Moje dijete su stalno, pošto je imala samo 3 godine, stalno su je ponavljali da govori da jedno hrvatsko ime, da je to njeno ime, a to je sve bilo iz razloga da ako upadne HVO u zgradu i počne odvoditi Bošnjake, da ne odvedu njih.
Croats who tried to protect their Muslim neighbors were equally at risk for their efforts.
Kad sam ja odveden u logor, odvedeni su i neki Hrvati koji su u svojim stanovima čuvali Bošnjake. Jer je bila naredba da ako neko od njih sačuva jednog Bošnjaka, da će ići u logor isto. Tako da je sigurno da ljudi nisu htjeli, ali se je desilo kako se je desilo. Jer ni te ljude, ni te Hrvate nije imao ko da zaštiti. Jer je vrlo važno da u glavama ljudi preovlada mišljenje da će svi oni koji su radili ratne zločine na kraju biti osuđeni. Dok to u glavama ljudi ne preovladava, neće biti povratka za normalan život.
Indicted war criminal Tuta has been charged by the War Crimes Tribunal for his role as commander of the Croat forces in the Mostar offensives. He is charged with crimes against humanity, forcible population transfers, and the use of prisoners as human shields. The fact that Tuta is considered a hero to his subordinates and countrymen outlines the problem war crimes prosecutors face in apprehending suspects. In Tuta's hometown, loyalists abound.
Nego čovjeka koji je branio svoj domovinu, po čemu je poseban, imao je novac kada je došao svoj vlastiti iz Njemačke. Ni od koga nije tražio pomoći. A oni su od nas tražili pomoć i dali smo i novac i sve živo što.
In such a charged environment, conflicting reports on the war are common. While Tuta is charged for ethnic cleansing by an international court, his followers claim that he saved Muslims.
Dali oni muslimani za Tutu da se oslobode prvi peticiju, dali glasovanje, znaš, ono kad je bilo glasovanje iz Međina, svi muslimani, zato što je nije...
Da se oslobodi Tuta?
Ne, ja. A nije htio, on je rekao nemojte ih dirati, treba nikoga
Pa nije niko ni dirati.
To je jedini pravi čovjek što ima pravdu na svijetu.
Međina is a small town in the Croat-held part of the Mostar region. It is not easy to get people to talk credibly about their personal beliefs in an atmosphere of fear. In some cases, victims of ethnic cleansing are intentionally spared. Many explanations are put forth, but finding the truth is a delicate process.
It's a tradition in this place. It stems from Second World War and probably before, from the bygones, I'm not sure, that the most brutal serial killers and slayers who did it for the sake of their nation or their fate or whatever would actually protect and save a few people just to have them as a token for the ransom, just in case they don't really win the war, but yet they survive it. So they were killing hundreds and they were killing thousands. And they were saving people and they were saving dozens. But those dozens that were saved after the war, you know, they were in this bizarre way, they had to be kind of grateful.
Any hopes for criminal justice must contend with the deceptions that remain. Unlike the Nuremberg trials, where a system of victors' justice arose, in Bosnia there were no clear winners or losers. Investigating the truth would inevitably cause further conflict.
Criminal justice, even in a national setting, is a process through which a peaceful society restores itself after the peace has been disturbed by the commission of a crime. But the criminal process itself, as it unfolds, is not peaceful. In fact, it's very often a further irritant to the community because it's disturbing for the victim to have to relive the event. It's disturbing for the accused and for his family and supporters to be confronted with the truth. It's very disturbing for witnesses to have to be drawn back as sometimes even just neutral third parties to the event. So the criminal process itself is not necessarily peaceful, but it yields a peaceful environment in one, establishing the truth, and two, replacing blood feuds or other forms of vengeance as a method of compensating in a certain way those who have been harmed.
A šta oni pričaju da je neko ubijan doli, di su im te grobnice masovne, di su i ne vadaju, nema vajde od priče, što ne dokaže. Ako je neko kriv, nek dokaže, a ne laga.
Even more than the clear duality of good and evil in the final solution for the Jews in World War II, the extremely complicated web of lies, disinformation, and half-truths needs to be untangled to get a clear picture of where responsibilities lie. Blaming the other side is a common tactic in the process of denial for war crimes.
Agresor ne može biti iz prostog razloga i tvrdim da je to građanski rat zato što su Bošnjaci, muslimani, pa potom Bošnjaci su tako sebe nazvali, zajedno sa Hrvatima borili se protiv srpskog naroda. Istovremeno su Bošnjaci i Hrvati ratovali između sebe, nanosili teške gubitke, a onda potom svi zajedno. To su osnovni elementi građanskog rata, to se naravno uči u srednjoj školi.
Views will of course differ about the history of the recent war. If more crimes were committed against the Muslim population, this does not affect the severity of crimes committed on behalf of the Bosnian defense. The altered psychology of a war without rules infected all sides of the conflict. The result was raping and pillaging by those who could not maintain a bare minimum of respect for civilians.
Tada sam govorio i danas govorimo i danas je stav vlade da to bolno pitanje ratnih zločina, a ratnih zločina je bilo na sve tri strane. To je činjenica Nijednom narodu neće pasti oreol sa glave ako kaže da je bilo ratnih zločina i nikad se ne može stati iza ratnog zločina koji je vršen mimo pravila rata i Ženevske konvencije.
30 miles north of Mostar, the Bosnian forces mounted a fierce resistance against the Serbian army, expelling and detaining civilian Serbs in the famous Muslim and Croat-controlled Čelabići prison camp. While there is no evidence so far of World War II-style mass killings in the Muslim-controlled detention camps, rapes and fatal tortures were common, even where former neighbors were concerned.
15.6.1992. ja sam sprovedena u logor Čelebići, dok je moj brat i ostali 37 dana prije toga bili zarobljeni isto u Čelebiću. Kad smo dole došli, nisam očekivala sve da će to teći ko što je teklo. To su sve bile naše komšije prve koje smo poznavali. Nažalost, što mi je bilo teže, koje sam poznavala, da i nisam poznavala, ne bi možda mi bilo toliko ni čudno. Zadržana sam tu 77 dana. Nakon posjete Crvenog međunarodnog krsta, tad smo oslobođeni. Mislili da su nas sakrit, jer pošto su nas tjerali tamo da radimo, žene da metu, da čiste. Kad je došao Međunarodni crveni krst, oni su nas utjerali unutra, kao da sakriju da nema tu žena. I tako kazali su muškarci, ti koji su tu bili kao zatočeni u logoru, da postoje žene. Tad nas se posjetio Međunarodni crveni krst, da nas je bilo. Nadali smo se kao da ćemo preživjeti, da ćemo se nekada kao vratiti. Međunarodni crveni krst došao je neđe u možda polovinom avgusta, a mi smo oslobođeni 31. avgusta. Preživjeli smo svašta. Ne znam sad koliko je to što ja pričam, ja sam to ispričala do sad 1000 puta. Bilo je matletiranja, bilo je gladi. Bila sam 3 dana bez vode, bez hrane, hljeba, kolika je vrca hljeba. Nismo to ni vidjeli. Bila sam pala s noga, nisam mogla na noge jednostavno od gladi. Bilo je silovanja, što je najžalosnije. Bilo je svega. Prema tome ne znam više šta da pričam to. Eto tako, evo sve do sada, dokle i ovo mi je neka vrsta logora, ali nisam gladna hljeba, pa tako. Eto.
The perpetrator of this woman's rapes, Hazim Delic, is a Bosnian Muslim. He was accused of the willful killing and torture of numerous detainees at the Čelabići camp. On one occasion, he beat a man to death on the basis of an accusation that the man had been responsible for the deaths of Muslims in World War II. Delic was an upstanding citizen before the war with no criminal record. He has been tried and sentenced by the Hague Tribunal and is now serving his prison term. The victims of the Čelabići camp were eventually released and fled to eastern Bosnia for safety. In the crossfire of accusations about responsibility in the war, these Serbs live unnoticed by the international community in a shanty refugee camp. These refugees lack in basic provisions, living in tents and shacks. The former Serb prisoners are doing their best to make do with the squalor that they have inherited from the war. The ethnic cleansing of the Bosnian War caused massive population displacements. As Serb refugees were streaming in from Croatia, Serb forces were mobilizing against Muslims. As people were shuffled around like pawns in a giant chess game with no rules, all sides in the conflict became defenders and aggressors. To determine who was responsible is very difficult. One thing is clear. The most widespread human rights abuses in Europe since World War II occurred in the midst of this confusion. Srebrenica is a town where Serb forces exterminated a village of 10,000 people under the nose of the United Nations. It's the most well-known case of war crimes atrocities committed in Bosnia. The consequences of ethnic cleansing in northwestern Bosnia has received far less publicity. Unlike Srebrenica, The ethnic cleansing in the areas of Prijedor and Sanski Most involved concentration camp detentions and piecemeal mass killings that claimed over 20,000 civilians over a 2-year period. Early in the war, the local Serb leader, Radislav Berjanin, declared that 2% was the acceptable limit of non-Serbs in the newly formed Bosnian Serb Republic. Berjanin is now in custody of the Hague War Crimes Tribunal.
The Bosnian Serb authorities, including Radislav Berjanin, initiated a 3-part plan. 1. To create impossible conditions involving pressure and terror tactics that would have the effect of encouraging the non-Serbs to leave the area. 2. To deport and banish those who were reluctant to leave. And 3. To liquidate those non-Serbs who remained and who did not fit into the concept of the Serbian state.
After moderates were purged from the Serb leadership, SDS forces began seizing control of towns and expelling Muslims. The town of Kozarac, previously 90% Muslim, was destroyed within months. Certain homes were spared from the devastation, with Serb insignia, "Serb House, Do Not Touch." Muslims were forced to wear white armbands, and signs were posted, "Dogs and Muslims not allowed," recalling the horrors of World War II. Men and women were rounded up and taken to the Elmarska and Karaterm camps. Women were raped, men were beaten, and tens of thousands of people were exterminated and placed in mass graves. In Sanski Most, a well-to-do agrarian village in western Bosnia, the aggression was directed at Muslims and Catholics. Every mosque and Catholic church in the town was destroyed, with only the Orthodox Church spared. When Bosnian forces reclaimed the town, they left the Serb church standing as a symbol of continuing tolerance despite the attempted genocide by Serb forces. In Sanski Most, the story is again one of multi-ethnic friendships torn asunder by nationalism.
This whole day, governed people, 1980, 1981, and this is Serbs, people who is working on the government, and Muslims and Croatia people, women, and everybody was very good friends. After 10 years, these people bring him from the prison.
After being forced from their jobs and made to wear white armbands, the citizens of Sanski Most were sent to detention centers in successive stages.
Ne želim se osvećivati, ali ne želim ni zaboraviti. Znate, ovo je mjesto gdje nerado dolazim. Ja sam vam rekao da sam bio drugi put ovdje. Ovdje nas je bilo u jednoj po 35. Puštali su nas po 5 minuta izutra i navečer. Ovdje su imali jednu kantu gdje smo vršili nuždu, i veliku i malu. Bila je kuća bijelo. Ja ne znam imaju sad vrata. Bijelo. Moj zadatak bio ovo.
He was staying like that, and the two of them did beat him till he didn't.
Ali su pozada to, čim su prije stigli.
They beat him on the back with everything.
The people were then brought to this camp at the other end of town.
Gdje su ubijali, nekoga su oslobodili i vozili na manje. Evo danas je identifikacija ubijeni na Hrastovoj glavici u Podidači.
They had us here for 3 nights. Some people from Krustovo, they had more than that, maybe for 15 days. And that night, it was rain all night. Till maybe 11 o'clock at night, everybody was okay, fine. But after that, we didn't have a bathroom there. Everybody started to go around to go in the bathroom, and it smelled so bad. My daughter said, "I'm gonna die here." And we tried to find some fresh air, and I took her close to the end and tried to open the windows, but it wasn't any windows. And we stayed that this in the morning, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock a.m. They opened the door and I said, okay, go out. And we looked here, it was maybe 10 or 15 the buses. And they just put people in the buses, but it was too many people and we couldn't go in. We just were on the end of this, and then they started to put us in the wagon, and that wagon was without doors, without anything, and that closed that. It was maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50 of us in that. And we didn't know where they are taking us. Then some in the middle of that traveling, they just stopped and let us stay in for 4 hours without water, without anything, with everything closed. And there was a little, maybe 4 or 5 months old, the kids, and they were collapsed, they were hungry, and I asked Chetniks who were out to bring us some water, and he said, I can't. I would like, but I can't. Somebody, he was afraid of somebody else. I don't know. We are alive. That's okay. Everything else, I will not forget. I did forgive, and I talked to some Serbs now. I'm here, and they're coming. And 2 days ago, one Serbian lady, and I told her, well, I have to have a big heart to forget and to talk to you, but well, we are trying hard to forgive after all.
These families managed to survive. Thousands were to suffer a different fate.
Da nema uniforme policajske ovdje, da nije promijenilo u logoru, a ubijan je, izveden je 10.6.92. Izloga Dušan Tadić, njega i još dvojicu sad. Nisam poznao ga ja po ovoj vici, po burmi.
Nalazimo se u selo Vrpolje kod Sanskog mosta, 12 km od grada, i nalazimo se ovdje kod Mezarovka gdje su Srbi 1992. pobili muslimanski narod u kućama ispred kuća. Ovdje su svi pobijeni iz ova 3 sela Vrpolja, Hrustova i Begića. Pobijeni su samo zato što su muslimani, ništa drugo. Pobili su i naše komšije Srbi koji su živjeli isto na ovim prostorima, u okolnim selima Tramočnja, Podovi i ostala sela srpska koja se nalaze oko ova 3 muslimanska sela. Nalazimo se na mostu Vrpolje, gdje su 1992. srpski zločinici pobili, odnosno ljudi su morali skakati sa ovoga mosta, a oni su u vazduhu i gađali i ubijali dole u vodu. Kasnije su ih pokupli i sahranili ovdje ispod mosta. 22 tijela smo našli poslije rata i tu su bili izmaskirani i pobijeni u tom periodu. Oni su morali sa ovoga mosta skakati, a onda su i u visu gađali i ubijali dok su dolazili do vode. Našli smo ovdje grobnicu ispod mosta, gdje smo iskopali 22 tijela ljudi i žena iz sela Begići, nedaleko odavde, 500 metara. To su familije Kenjari, Begići, Cerići i ostale familije koje se nalazile tu.
The pins represent the mass graves in the region, primarily containing the bodies of civilian Bosnian Croats and Muslims. On one occasion, 200 civilian prisoners in the Omarska camp were instructed that they were to be exchanged for Serb prisoners. Instead, they were led to their deaths in a cave.
Sada se nalazimo kod sela Čirkića, mjesto je Hrastova Glavica, gdje su dovoljeni ljudi iz Prijedora, iz logora Omarska, odnosno Keraterma, u ovu jamu u dubine od 40 metara. Jama se nalazi ovdje. Ona je duboka 40 metara. Uska je na početku negdje oko metar prešnika, a unutra je proširena 20 metara i onda ima još jedan niži sprat na dubinu od 40 metara.
Dovozeni su autobusima iz Prijedora ovdje, ubijani su nad ovom javom iz pištolja u glavu i gurani dole na ovu dubinu. To su malo ljudi iz Prijedora koji su bili u logoru Kerater. Prije 8 mjeseci oni su odavde izvađeni i sahranjeni su u Prijedoru, selo Hambarine. Pošto ovaj prostor Hrastove glavice bio sav od šume, nije bilo uopšte prilaznog puta, oni su je dovezli do ovoga glavnog puta autobusima, a odatle 500 metara, odnosno 700 metara pješ se uložili ovdje u šumu, doveli do ove jame ovdje, tad su je jednog po jednog pucali u glavu i gurali u tu jamu. Ovo smo sada poslije vremena ovo malo očistili pripremljeno tako da se može dovesti neko da pogleda tu jamu i da vidi da je tu izvršen zločin od srpskog naroda.
The need for identification and proper burials is very important to give families a sense of closure.
When the families come and make the identifications, it can be very emotional. This wouldn't necessarily happen in the States, but when we do the postmortem identifications, the autopsies, family members will come to those examinations as they're being conducted to try to start looking at clothing, looking at personal effects, and see if they can recognize anything, just so that the commissions have some idea who might be in a pit, in a large grave. And people get pretty upset when they come and see these things, but yet they seem to find that it's really important. The family members will say the important thing is just to know if they're alive or they're dead. And even though it's hard for them, I think it's really important that I hate the word closure, but that seems to be the big issue. As a friend of mine said last year when I first came, the important thing is they want to have a place to go and cry, a grave to go and visit.
For many, it is more than just having a grave to visit. It is a sense of accountability.
It's very hard story. I explained a few times about my story from 1992 to 1993. I was on the 3 concentration camp. Prisons, Serbs police, concentration camp, 3.5 months Manjača, and 7 months in Batković, next to Bijeljina, state line, Bosnia and Serbia. Together, I was in the concentration camp 14 months or 422 days. It was very hard time for me. But I'm now again here in my city. I hope so that war criminals never live here. Place for them is on the Hague.
I don't think that there's any strict hierarchy in terms of culpability or responsibility as it relates to the victim. And by that, what I mean is, if I'm looking at a mother and a mother's child has been murdered, do I have the audacity to tell her that the person who has been found guilty of killing her child is not as important in the scheme of things than the leader? I don't think I can do that.
Canaro said at the time, more or less verbatim, that the world will at some time make the armed forces under whose eyes these events have occurred also responsible for these events.
I would not be in this business if I didn't believe in the law. I have to have confidence that as the work of the tribunal continues, as its professionalism, its transparency, and so on is better established, better accepted, that it will only gain momentum and support, and that all these cases will be brought forward.
As the international community contemplates the establishment of a permanent international criminal court, universal ideas of respect for human rights must still contend with existing power structures.
Unfortunately, it's all too clear that there are very severe violations of the most fundamental human rights that recur time and again. It was said after the Holocaust, never again, and obviously it should have been so. But in fact, the world has witnessed other horrors since, perhaps not of the dimension of the Holocaust, but nevertheless quite ghastly. Today, as recent events in the Balkans illustrate, it is the predominant view, at any rate in the international community, that there are limits on the way a state may treat its own nationals, and that if it violates fundamental human rights in a gross and pervasive manner, it is the concern of the international community at large. It is the legal concern of the international community at large.
We have always been committed, certainly since I've been here, to developing cases that will yield evidence of personal criminal responsibility at the highest level of the political, military, paramilitary leadership. Or, in some cases, we will also select cases of what we call notorious offenders, or particularly outrageous, egregious commission of the most heinous crimes. But in the absence of very specific guidance at the beginning, we took what I believe was a correct, reasonably conservative position, which means that for command responsibility, we thought it prudent to mount cases that were not based solely on a de jure responsibility, which of course could always be displaced by the accused claiming that the legal structure that purported to make him or her, but him as is always the case, apparently responsible, was in fact not the reality of the exercise of power. So in virtually every case, we are careful to try to present an evidentiary basis that will show the reality of the existence of power, which may or may not coincide with the legal structure from which power and its exercise would normally be inferred in a society that is respectful of the rule of law.
Whether or not the war crimes prosecutions assist Bosnians to create a tolerant society is largely a personal question for Bosnians. Although the work of reconstruction is still at its early stages, the strong presence of the international community helps to promote more civil approaches to confronting the ravages of war.
Mislim da bi najvažnije bilo da ovaj istaknuti organ međunarodne pravde jasno definira svoju poziciju i funkciju u savremenom svijetu, posebno u odnosu prema zločinima koji se dešavali na prostoru bivše Jugoslavije. Mislim da bi najvažnije bilo da ova elitna institucija u kojoj radi nekoliko stotina poznatih pravnika, da se pozabavi suptilnim i težim slučajevima, što bi značilo da se pozabavi uzrocima ove velike tragedije i da u prvom planu obuhvati one pojedince u Bosni i Hercegovini i van Bosne i Hercegovine, pa čak i van prostora bivše Jugoslavije, koji su svojim činjenjem ili nečinjenjem doveli do ove velike ratne i humanitarne katastrofe. A te pokretače rata potrebno je tražiti prije svega u političkim i vojnim krugovima ili u političkim i vojnim vrhovima, ali ne treba zanemariti ni uzročnike rata u medijskim, naučnim i vjerskim krugovima. I u tome bi trebalo da se ogleda osnovna funkcija Međunarodnog suda za ratne zločine.
Popović Radomir, rodom iz Drvara, želim da se vratim u svoje rodno mjesto gdje sam rođen Pa ko vlada da vlada, da li je bio musliman ili Hrvat, to mene nije interesantno. Želim da se vratim na svoje rodno mjesto gdje živim, gdje sam živio i moji roditelji, prađedovi i djedovi i svi Hrvati.
Gdje žubori voda živa, šeta se svakog dana, sultanova kćerka mila, svakog dana jedno momče stajalo kraj šadrvana, kako vrijeme